Without faith, you're not going to lay hands on the sick and they shall recover. Without faith, you're not going to keep walking when the way gets hard. Without faith, you're going to give up when everything starts to coming against you. I am pressed but not crushed, because I have faith to believe that this is only a moment. This too shall pass. And I want Soul Harvest Ministry to be built up on their most holy faith today. Just recently, I got this book. It's a book full of faith. And there's a story in it I've been reading, trying to build my faith up from stories that other people have went through. This man, his family, this is a true story. His family didn't have much money, and they had a lot of children. And he was a minister, and back in the old days, you didn't make a whole lot of money ministering. You had to walk to wherever you went, and you had to walk back home. And his wife stayed home with the babies, and he walked to the church, and he preached. Well, his children all needed new shoes. And he knew that whatever money he made in that offering was his salary to buy them babies new shoes. And so the man, at the end of the service, the man handed him an envelope and said, here's your offering for the service. And the Holy Spirit spoke to him and said, that man needs that money worse than you do. And he said, him being a man of God and a man of faith and obedience, he had to obey the Lord. But man, he knew he was going to have a raging woman at home. That wife was not going to be happy when he walked all the way back down to the house with no money, because she was expecting to buy the baby's shoes with that money. He handed the minister, or whoever handed him the envelope, handed it back to him and gave it to him, and he started walking home. And he was praying. And he was believing God. And he said, Lord, what am I going to tell my wife when I get home? I have no money to hand her for the shoes. And there was no wind blowing whatsoever. It was just a still day, and he was walking home. Then all of a sudden, a poof of wind blew, and it blew something up against the fence post. And he walked over there and picked it up, and it was more money than what he had given away at the church. It was money that blew in from a wind. And in that envelope, or rolled up, was more money than he had just given away. So I want you to know today that God does provide. Even if it means throwing out your net and in obedience to the other side of the boat, and God blessing it and bringing in the fish. Or Jesus said, open up the clam or whatever it was, and there's going to be your tax money. God is going to provide for you and your family. Did you know that God is the same yesterday, today, and forever? God never changes. But that's not to say times haven't changed. This is an old post office from many, many years ago, the 1800s. And here's where they used to sort out the mail. And this is the old mailbox. Stay with me and listen to the story that I am fixing to bring you. It's about a missionary's son. And he has got some awesome, miraculous stories to share. So stay tuned to Penny, Keeping It Real. Hi, thank you for staying tuned to Penny, Keeping It Real. I have with me today Jack Garlick, and he is the son of a missionary. His parents were missionaries in Peru, and I know that his story is going to bless your heart. He's already been sharing with me things that were miraculous, and I am so excited that you are going to get to hear these stories as well. Jack, can you share with me how your parents got started as missionaries?
Well, I think it all began with my grandparents, Leroy and Alice Williams. They were some of the first missionaries to Peru. And my mom and her sister and brother pretty well grew up in Peru. And then as they got older, they all moved to the States. That's where, in time, my mom met my dad. And the Lord called them to, in turn, go back down to Peru. And that's kind of how it began.
That's neat. Almost like a divine appointment for your parents to meet He must have had a heart to go back
Yes.
with her.
Yes, he was in Bible school at the time that they met, and he did. He just really wanted to pursue God in every which way that God wanted him to.
That's neat. You were sharing some stories with me about your grandfather and some miraculous things that happened while they were on the missionary field. Can you share that with the people today?
Well, Peru's a very rich country in the sense of it. A third of the country is desert, a third of the country is some of the tallest mountains in the world, and a third of the country is jungle. And in fact, the Amazon River begins in Peru. But in this one particular occasion, my grandfather was going with some other men into the jungle to meet with an Indian tribe, and they were going to share the word of the Lord with them. They were a friendly tribe. Well, there aren't too many good road signs out in the middle of the jungle, so they did get lost and found themselves surrounded by a tribe of headhunter Indians. And they knew that they were in trouble. They began to pray and began to pray in tongues. And as they continued on, nothing was happening. So I recall my grandfather peeking out real fast, and there was no Indians. So they promptly took advantage of the situation and left. They did eventually get to the destination and spent about a week in that village sharing the word of the Lord. The last day, one of the headhunter Indians had snuck in the back, and unbeknownst to them, had given his heart to the Lord. In talking with him later, they found out more about their situation that they were in. He was one of the Indians that was in that party that had surrounded them. And when they had begun praying in the Spirit, the language that they were praying in was the language of that tribe. And the message that God was relaying to them was that do not harm these men, and that they were being protected by